What's up, everybody? What's up? What's up? What's up? Excited to be here today. Just going to give a minute for everybody to get on. Going to need some feedback today because we're still out of the country. Hey, we're still out of the country and coming to you all the way from Colombia, South America. We're loving it here, but I want to make sure our connection is good. So as you come in, do me one of two favors. First, do me two, right, of one favor. Connect, let me know where you are, where you're from, give me a shout out, rep your city, your country, whatever. And secondly, let me know whether or not the sound is good. I'm in a public place, but I'm in a private public place, but I wanted to just make sure we're connecting well. All right. These are, as people are starting to come in now. Hey, what's up, Jeffrey? How you doing? So, Jeffrey, you're the first here who has responded, besides my wife, who's right here near me. Jeffrey, let me know if my sound's coming in good. Great. Awesome, buddy. Thank you so much. Awesome. Oh, yeah. It's, you know what? I'm not even going to take time to talk about Colombia. Hey, from Chicago. Yes, you can hear me. Awesome. Great. Believe it or not, I'm in a mall, and it looks like I'm outdoors. You guys got to come to Medellin, Colombia. But anyway, we'll talk about that some other time. Here, let's give you a few housekeeping. Hey, Sunshine. A few housekeeping tips. First of all, make sure you're inviting people to our Tuesday lives. I'm here to tell you we're doing some serious things with this app. We're going to upgrade, and this has been a labor of love to get it to where we need it to be. And I so appreciate you guys for being with us along the journey. Our plan is for the month of April to get everything tight, exactly how we want it to be. And then after April, we'll tell you what our next step is, because then things are going, oh great, thank you, Talamisha. Things are going to be opened up. And there are going to be some changes and some requirements from you, our listeners, who've been getting this free this whole time. But I think you're going to be really excited and really pleased with the changes we're making on our app. Okay? So please, when you open the app at the beginning, give me your comments, give me your suggestions, join a community. And if you hear noise in the background, don't trip. Don't trip about it. Hopefully you can still hear me over the noise in the background. Like I said, I'm public here, but we're going to do this. Hey, Louise, how are you? All right, let's rock and roll. So today, for the next 20 minutes or so, I sent out a notification. The notification was this: secret stash, okay? Someone said it looks like I'm on an island. You're absolutely right. Well, I'm in South America, so, you know. But it said secret stash, having a secret account. We're talking about financial honesty here, but then again, it goes a little deeper than that. We want to talk about this. Here's the first question I have for you guys, okay? If your spouse found your hidden account tonight, would they feel safe or would they feel betrayed? Okay? Hidden accounts we're talking about. Every Tuesday, we're talking about things that directly affect your relationship. This is why I asked you to please invite people, because the things we talk about are going to be incredibly relevant. So we're talking about here whether or not your secret account, is it betrayal or is it just privacy? Are you just being private? We're going to talk about this, and you can feel free to respond. For those of you on the first time, I want you to know that as you respond, I will answer. This is not like This is not like IG or YouTube. You get straight up answers as we're moving. Okay, Capri says, as a spouse who has found one, you felt betrayed. Okay. Wendy says, not privacy. All right. Okay. When we talk about privacy or secrecy, it's not privacy. All right. All right. Okay. Sunshine says secret. Now let me ask you this. How many of you have ever stashed money away that your spouse didn't know about? You might have been saving it for a special event or a special something for them. How many of you have you ever done that? And is that privacy or is that secrecy? I need you to answer that. For those of you who are saying, oh no, this is betrayal, it's betrayal, let's talk about it. Because it really comes down to trust. What is that money there for? What are they doing? And is there a time when we can actually have our own money and actually make our own decisions? Or are these things that need to be discussed, and every decision you make has to be discussed with your spouse? What about women who shop for stuff and hide it from their hubby? Absolutely. My wife is sitting right here, so she knows what she's talking about. Okay, absolutely. Women who shop, I'm not saying that she's ever done that, but women who shop for stuff and hide it from their hubby. I'm expecting a comment any moment now from her. I don't have a hidden account, but we both agreed before the marriage to have one joint and still keep our individual accounts that we had prior to marriage. Well, we both have access to all of it. I hope that makes sense. Talamisha, you're absolutely right. And I think that is the key. So when we talk about hidden accounts, and I posited earlier, are we talking privacy or are we talking secrecy? Now, here's the deal. In marriage, everyone deserves to have some modicum of privacy. And I think that when it gets a little sketchy is when that privacy becomes secrecy. Because get this, privacy respects the marriage. Secrecy bypasses it. I want you to hear me. Privacy respects the marriage, but secrecy bypasses it. So it's more than just talking about having secret accounts. We're talking about trust here. We're talking about trust. All right? Does it make sense to have privacy in your marriage? Absolutely. I think that the couples who say, what's mine is yours, and what's yours is mine, or what's mine is mine, and what's yours is mine, however you want to phrase that, and everything that happens has to run through the filter of both of you, eventually you will start to feel closed in. You're married to one another. Does not mean that you own each other, even though in some degrees it does. But it does not mean you're not an individual anymore. And you got to get this. It means you still have individuality. There's still things. In fact, there are times you need to do things separately. Wendy and I, we've talked about this, you know. She said, look, if you need to go somewhere, you need to whatever, that's cool. And the same here. But when we talk about secrecy, that's a whole different ballgame. Now, let's talk about why people have these secret stashes. And it may be a secret stash of money. It may be secret friendships. It may be secret anything. But why do people have secret stashes? First of all, fear. Thank you, Capri. She said lack of trust. Absolutely. That was my second one. You read my notes? But the first one is fear. All right? I have to have a backup plan. What if this don't work out? That's where prenuptial agreements came from. Fear. I got to have a backup plan. And if that is your reason for having your secret stash, that is destroying your marriage. Backup plans for that reason. I'm not talking against prenups or any of that. That's on you. But the bottom line is, if you are afraid that your relationship is not going to survive, so you need to have your money, and I've heard some ill-informed parents tell their children that. You need to always have your money, you need to always have your backup plan. Don't let them put that crap in your head. Okay? When you get into marriage, you say those vows, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, forsaking all others till death do you part. That means something. It means you're to go into this thing whole hog. That's why it's important to make the right decision first time, which is why we have a matchmaking side of our app, because we want to instruct people on how to do it right the first time. God knows if I'd had instruction the first time, probably would have been married longer. Not saying to the same person, but I probably would have been married longer or made better decisions early on. So that fear can be destructive. Remember what fear is: false evidence appearing real. Okay? So fear is never a good thing. In fact, the Bible talks about how perfect love casts out all fear. Because where there is fear, there is torment. Anytime you're living in fear, you're living in a state of torture. So if you in your marriage are living in that state of torture, y'all please respond to this. If you don't agree, that's okay too. But if you're living in a state of torture because of fear, so you got to have your own money, you got to do this because I ain't trusting, get this, I ain't trusting no man. I wish my wife would come with that crap. I ain't trusting no man. I ain't gonna let no man. Anytime somebody comes to you talking about no man, no man, no man, that's not talking about you. That's talking about some historical baggage that they have that needs to be worked out in counseling. You shouldn't trust no man. No. Are you talking to your husband or your dad? Are you talking to your husband or your past relationships? Get this, I'm going to shoot straight with you. That's it, right? All the way in Colombia, I'm shooting straight. And I hope you're getting it wherever I'm shooting it. Okay, so that's the first thing, fear. As Capri said also, lack of trust. And they kind of go hand in hand, to be honest with you. Because if I trust you, the Latin word for trust, fidelis, has to do with trusting, believing in. If I trust you, I believe in you, then I don't have fear. The opposite of fear is trust. Okay? If I trust you, I shouldn't have any fear. Especially not fear of those major things. Are you with me? And just make sure that you get this lack of trust. Also, if you're experiencing that in your relationship, I can't trust my spouse to spend money correctly. I can't trust my spouse to be responsible. You need to get into a counseling situation. Because if that's what you're saying, you have a deeper issue that we need to discuss, that we cannot handle here this evening. Thirdly, control. This is very, very deep. Some people hold money to control the situation, control the circumstances, control the narrative. If I have the money, I have the control. Now, personal testimony. I handle the finances in my marriage. Well, the reason is because I was a financial investor for 12 years. My wife trusts me with finances. We've had some arguments about money, about spending, about a lot of stuff, sure. But I think generally she trusts me with our finances, right? Because what I'm going to do is going to be for the benefit of the family, benefit of the kids, and benefit of her. But when you get to the point where you feel like your control over the money is your control over the marriage, you veered over into a very dangerous and ugly place. Controlling the money doesn't mean you control the marriage. I hope you get that. Controlling the money doesn't mean you control the marriage. No one is controlling the marriage. No one should ever be controlling the marriage. Are you guys getting this? I hope you are. Okay? Wendy says coaching is available on the homepage of the app and the website. Absolutely. So if you feel like you need to hold money back because of control, I need to have I can't give it up. There's some deeper issues. At some point in your life, you felt like you were taken advantage of. At some point in your life, you were hurt. At some point in your life, you were in a position where you felt weak. You felt run over. So you'll never let that happen again. And that control is causing you to create these little financial silos, relationship silos. It's the same reason that people say, you know what, I'm married, but I'm going to have some friends on the side or whatever, just in case. No. That's control. That's dangerous. Yes, Capri, these are watchable in the app. We do archive all these. And as we move forward, you will be able to get this again. Okay, here's a question from my wife, Wendy. Okay, what about if you make less money but don't want to contribute? Now, okay, well, if you make less money but you don't want to contribute, this is a conversation that definitely needs to be had between the two of you, preferably with a mediator. If you make less money and you still don't want to contribute, Now, here's a bigger question. If you're making less money, does the money maker, the one who's making more money, want you to contribute? I know of a lot of marriages where the person who makes the most money says, look, I'll just make the money. Don't trip about it. I'll pay the bills. I have people that I know personally who are relationships where wife makes more, others, husbands make more. And in all those situations that I'm thinking about now, they both say, I'm not expecting my spouse to contribute to the finances like that because I can handle it all without hurting anybody. So their money can go to a different area, it can do whatever, or it can be theirs. The bottom line is what works for you. Now, if you make less money and your husband needs you or your wife needs you to contribute and you're not contributing, that's a problem. That shows a lack of respect for the union. That shows that you're not thinking globally about what you guys are trying to accomplish, but you've started thinking selfishly. Okay? Please, if you have other questions, shoot them out here because I'm rocking and rolling without you. So if you got a question, now's your time to ask. Okay, fine. And lastly, I talked about fear, I talked about lack of trust, I talked about control, and now I'm talking about past financial trauma. Quite often, people, and I've kind of touched on this, they've had situations where they've been completely bankrupt, completely financially just screwed, or completely broke, or they may have gone into a marriage, had a previous marriage where they felt that they had no control, or their husbands or their wives took care of all the finances and you had no input, and then at that point you decided this will never happen to me again. Okay, fine. That financial trauma needs to be seriously considered and talked about. I'll say over and over again, you got to get counseling. I'm not talking about not just a pitch for me to give you counseling or coaching. If you don't want to do it with me, do it with somebody else. But if that's what you're handling, this financial trauma, the past financial trauma, you need to speak to that with someone. Can't handle it all right here, but you got to do it. Wendy says, at some point, doesn't the person carrying the weight, even if it's monetary weight, you get tired? Shouldn't the one making less still be considered? Well, absolutely. In a perfect world and in a normal marriage and a healthy marriage, even if you are making less and your spouse is saying, hey, you don't have to contribute, the one who's making less should at least say, look, babe, I so appreciate what you're doing. And here's what I want to do. I want to use my money for our vacations. I want to use our money for this. I want to use my money for the kids' education. I want to something and this is not about money. This is about appreciation. This is about showing your spouse that you notice and you care. Okay, Michelle, how do you find compromise in issues with your marriage in the beginning of the marriage? I want to make sure I understand what you're asking. How do you find compromise in issues with your marriage in the beginning of your marriage? Okay, now, correct me if I'm wrong. I want to make sure I'm scratching where you're itching. You're asking in the beginning of the marriage, when you first start, how do you find compromise, or how do you manage to okay, you're saying due to past trauma. Okay. Okay. Now I see where you're going. How do you find compromising issues in your marriage in the beginning due to past trauma? Unfortunately, a lot of times people get into marriage without having handled that trauma before your marriage. Now, if that's you, not you necessarily, Michelle, but if that is if that's what you understand, that's your situation, you need to get, again, I don't want to sound redundant, you need to have a mediator to talk you through that. And this may not be something that you and your husband need to do. At some point you probably do, but you may need to do that on your own. All right? Now, if you're having issues finding compromise because you've had trauma, here's one thing that I'm going to give you this a little bit. Here's one thing you got to understand. Sometimes our past can haunt us, and it can create sort of like our past can create sort of like a standard for us by which we judge our present mate. Now, I know this because this happened to me. I created a standard But I had to come to a real, honest, vulnerable realization that my present is not my past. And the things that happened in my past, I was not being fair to my present to allow those to affect them. Now, some things that happen in your present are just common things that would happen in any relationship. But yet, because of that trauma, and trauma is real, you're relating those things to a past situation when it may have nothing to do with that. I hope I'm making sense to you. So everyone should have the opportunity to make their own mistakes. They should have the opportunity to make their own choices and mistakes outside of the judgment of your past trauma. And if you're having trouble trying to do that, you need to talk to someone. In some cases, you need deep therapeutic coaching. Okay? Now, this is a good segue because I'm going to be bringing someone on in May who's a psychiatrist, and she's going to be dealing with some of these things. She's going to be doing some of our Tuesdays lives, and we're going to be bringing other people in also. She's a very well-respected in the industry, very well-respected psychiatrist. I'm not a psychiatrist. I do not diagnose. I do not prescribe medicine. No, I can coach you. I can get your marriage right. Don't get it twisted. But can I? I'm not clinical. Can't do it. Not gonna do it. All right. She is, and she's actually a trauma psychiatrist. Thank you, Wendy. And she'll be able to actually handle some of those things, because this is what we want to do on this app. We want to make sure that you guys getting some real serious intervention that's going to change the way you're relating to your partner. Okay? Now, let's talk about how we can change these situations. If you have any other questions, please talk about it. Let me know. Okay, fine. First of all, what must be shared among you and your spouse, all income must be shared. All income. No secret income. We're talking about solutions now. There should be no secret income. God knows I ain't got no secret income from my wife. Why? Because when my speaking engagements, she books them. Okay? Married at first sight, money comes in, she's on all my accounts. I'm on all hers. Every account. All income must be revealed. Secondly, all debt must be revealed. Okay? Thirdly, all major decisions must be talked about. Major decisions. Now, please understand. If somebody needs $20, somebody needs $100, somebody needs, you don't need to run to each other every time. That right there can be exhausting. Okay? Absolutely. Share information, not necessarily accounts. Well, you can look. I think every account needs to have your spouse on it, because God forbid if something happens to you, you cannot get access to that account, even if you're a spouse. If Wendy and I, God forbid, something happens to me, I'm gonna say me because I ain't gonna say her. If something happens to me, I want her to have access to every account that we have. And if I have an account and her name is not on it, I'm talking to you now as a professional because I did this stuff for 12 years. If I have an account and she's a joint with Rights of Survivorship or whatever, Tenants in Common or whatever kind of, I don't know, not Tenants in Common, that's real estate, but joint with Rights of Survivorship or Second to Die, any of that stuff. If we have an account and she's not on that, yes, honey, I'll get you in a minute. I see your comment. But then that she's going to go through hell trying to get into that account. So even if you choose to have separate accounts with each other, it's so important that your spouse's name is on that. Get that paperwork done. Then it's an honor thing to say, look, this is my account, that's your account. I've heard people say, well, no, I got my account, she got her account, and we got the whole account, and ain't nobody. No. Everybody needs to be on every account. Everybody needs to be on every account. All your income has to be there. Now, are we on every account? Absolutely. Does my wife have an account that I'm on? Yes, every account. Is she on all accounts? Yes. But in her bank account, do I ever go in there looking around? No. I don't care. Do you, baby? Does she come into my account? No, she don't ever look at the account. The business, I ain't got no account. I got the business account, the account where we pay all the bills. But no, did she look at that? No. Why? Because we trust each other. Okay. Talmisha says, Wendy here says some spouses don't have control over spending. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And that's why you have to make sure that if you have a problem spending, that the majority of your money is going into the joint account. Have your little account on the side, okay, but the majority should be going into your joint account. Okay, Talamisha said, yes, get that paperwork done from your bank, please. People, this is so important. If you have not done that yet, tomorrow, I'm saying Wednesday morning, call your bank, say, I need my spouse on my account, on this account, period. Because God forbid, if something happens, she's screwed or he's screwed. Should step-parents be put ahead of grown kids when it comes to names on accounts? What? Should step-parents be put, when you can be having these questions, should step-parents be put ahead of grown kids when it comes to names? Yeah, what the heck? Yeah, absolutely. Step-parent, we don't use step in our family. We're parents. I am my daughter's parent. Is she my biological daughter? No. As far as I'm concerned, she is. And do I come before her? Heck yeah. Absolutely. I'm saying that with my wife sitting right here. Absolutely, I come before her. She's nodding in the affirmative, and vice versa. Yeah, she ain't gonna have no grown kid on the account. I ain't on it. That don't even make sense. Yeah, but good question, babe. Okay, Traina used to be guest 94721 Thomas says this. We're almost 10 years in, and everything is separate. No, Traina, please, no, it cannot be. I don't care if that works for you guys, having separate accounts, that's fine. But you need to be on each other's accounts. Because God forbid if anything happens, as I said earlier, you're going to be screwed. Get that stuff together. Okay, I hope that makes sense to you. You need to know that. We have just begun discussing, but no decisions yet. Listen, I'm going to be straight with you. Now, I'm not even talking as Pastor, I'm talking as a 12-year investment executive who's worked on Wall Street for 12 years, worked for some of the largest banks in the world, okay, Allianz, Morgan Stanley, etc. I'm telling you this. You're setting yourself up for a serious problem, okay? You've been discussing it. I don't care what you decide to do with your money, but everybody needs to be on that account. And then you have to have an honor system. Look, this is my account. You're on it. You don't even have to have signing privileges. You don't even have to have signing privileges. You don't need both signatures to do what you need to do. Okay? You can have those kinds of situations, but the name needs to be on the account as a beneficiary in the very least. Does that make sense? Great. Okay. How do you address this after so many years? You sit down and talk about it. Ain't nothing to address. We're talking about legacy stuff. We're talking about what happens. God knows that none of our lives. We're not guaranteed tomorrow. God knows if something happens to you, okay, your husband's going to need access to your money, period. Do you want him to have access to it if something happens to you? If something happens to him, you know you're going to need access to that money, period. So how do you address it? Baby, we need to talk about finances for real. For us, for our kids, for our legacy. We can keep things as they are if it's working, but we need to be on each other's accounts. Legally. Okay, you got it. Thank you, Traina. I want you to be safe. That's the only reason I'm telling you this. I want you to be protected. Okay, we're about to close now. Look at benefits versus risk. If my name is not on your account and something happens to you, I don't want to have to jump through hoops to get them coins. Jesus help her. And worst case scenario, especially if it's a large investment account, you may have to deal with probate. You don't want to do with that. You don't want to do that. Either you have access to it or the state will take it all. Thank you. That's it. That's it right there. Because trust me when I say Trump and Uncle Sam, they want your money. That's right. I threw that in there. All right. Great. Well, guys, thank you so much. I hope this was beneficial. I want to bring more and more stuff like this to you. And we're going to. So I hope this is beneficial. In fact, we're going to have more talks on finances because, yes, I did spend an incredible amount of time, part of my life in the financial markets. We want to talk about finances. We want to talk about relationships, definitely. But I want to share things with you, okay? Please tell your friends. They're missing out, okay? If they're not on here, they're missing out. Tell them, let's build our usership in this app. Thank you, Capri. Thank you, Traina. Awesome. Awesome. All right, guys. God bless you guys. I can't wait to talk to you guys on next Tuesday. Please leave comments inside the app. Let's bring people to the app. All right. Looking. Oh yes, and be looking at the end of April. As I said, at the end of April, we're going to make some changes. So be prepared. Okay, you might be required to have a small investment in the app at the end of April. All right. God bless you guys.